All right, now that we have our 6 liquids in the beaker, we're going to see what happens when we start adding the solids. All right, I'm going to start with the most dense first. I'm going to start with aluminum. And you all know from the lab we did recently that aluminum has a density of about 2.7 grams per cubic centimeter. And you can see when I place it in here, it sinks to the bottom. It sinks in all of the liquids. Next up is ice. I'm going to take an ice cube, and I don't want that. I'm just going to break off a little piece. We all know that ice floats in water, but what will it do in the other liquids? We can see that it's actually floating in the vegetable oil. That's the ice right there. It sinks in the rubbing alcohol, floats in the vegetable oil. So ice is a little less dense than the vegetable oil. So that brings up a point that these densities that I gave you are approximate. They're not necessarily precise. All right, so it looks like ice is a little less dense than vegetable oil. Okay, next up is paraffin. Paraffin is a type of wax. I have a little piece of wax here. I'm going to put it in. And the wax is right here. It looks like it wants to sink in the rubbing alcohol and float in the vegetable oil. All right, it's about the same density as the rubbing alcohol. Okay, next up is the polypropylene. All right, also sinks in rubbing alcohol, floats in vegetable oil. All right, so it looks like both the paraffin and the polypropylene are actually a little bit less dense than the vegetable oil. All right, which is what we expected, I think. Okay, next up is oak. Oak has a density of 0.7 grams per cubic centimeter. And oak is right here. It looks to me like it is sinking in the baby oil, but floating on the rubbing alcohol, which is, I think, what we expected. All right, and then next up we have walnut. Walnut floats on everything, right here. Next up is pine. Also floats on everything, right there. Next up is basswood. Basswood is a really light wood. Also floats on everything, right here. And then last but not least is styrofoam. All right, also floats on everything. Floats in the baby oil and everything else.